So good morning, good afternoon and good evening wherever you are in the world watching another episode of Something for the Weekend. That's right, it's just me waving to some of my guys. I'm in the shop. Look, I told you I have a surprise for you this week, and I most certainly have. But it's not wandering around the shop because it's not like it's normally laid out. It's like a dispatch department and a picking and wrapping department. So it's not nice and orderly and all that sort of stuff. But the reason I wanted to come into the shop is I've got some good old pieces of kit to show you. And I thought, what better way, rather than drag it all over to my shack at home or sit in the rain, because yes, it's chucking it down today, I thought I'd bring the camera into work like we always used to do and sit there and show you some of the old kit. So let's go over to that and you can see what I've got to show you. So here we have a selection of old kit that I used to sell many years ago with Bernie and Brenda, and even actually when I opened my own shop. And one of the pieces of kit that I definitely sold with B&B was the Yaesu FT207. Hands up of you that remember this fine piece of equipment. I tell you now, this was so advanced when it came out from Yaesu. I remember walking into the labs, and I borrowed one from Bernie and said, look, can I take one of these when I was working for them part-time? I want to take it to Rake, take it in the labs and show the guys what you can do. And I remember walking into this, handing it to the chief guy who's in charge of dozens of engineers at Rake BCC, and showed him this. They did pull it apart. And when I told them the retail price, I think we were selling them for $229. I can't remember now. Even I can't remember that far back. They were completely amazed that they could produce something en masse. This is incidentally, sorry I haven't explained it, it's a synthesized 2 meter FM transceiver with a very small LED, bright LED window there. Keyboard entry and everything, but they were completely blown away with that. One of the replies to the video mentioned about an FT208. Well, after the 207 came out, that was a complete revelation. Nobody had anything to compete with it really. Was the Yaesu FT208. There you go. Unfortunately, it's got a bit of LCD bleed, which is probably not the professional way of describing it, but it looks like the display's gone. But this was the replacement. You can see they're both similar size, and these huge monsters are 2 meter, 2.5 watt handhelds, just single band. So for all of you that have got dual band DMR and C4 FM and everything else, think yourself lucky. Look what we had to put up with. So that's the FT208 and FT207. So those came along in the late 70s, both of those pieces of equipment. And by the time I joined ARE, Full-Time Amateur Radio Exchange, Yaesu came out with another amazing pair of handhelds, again single banders as they were in those days. There wasn't really any dual band. And it was the FT73R and the FT23R. Now, there it is for those of you. I bet a few of you are still using these because we get asked for batteries for them. This is all solid die-cast aluminium, the top of this. Again, LCD readout. If I stack that next to the other two, you can see how much smaller it is. And unlike these, where the batteries go in the back, these batteries slid off. So you just do that, and this probably hasn't come off for ages, but there you go. They just slide off like that, slide back on again. So that's the FT73, and indeed the FT23 was the matching one. Many years later, I remember one of the senior guys at Yaesu Japan turning up in my which shop was my second shop, the large shop, and saying to me, he walked up to me, I said, oh, hello, Mr. Kobayashi, how are you? He said, well, I've got something to show you. And he was so excited to show me this. And all of a sudden he appeared with this, the little VX1. How many of you remember that? He was amazed. I was. I had remote microphones that were bigger than this at the time, and this was a complete dual band 277 transceiver. And just to give you an idea of its weenie size, there it is. It was only a watt, I seem to remember, watt and a half. So there's all through the years. So this would have been early 90s. This, and then they bought the VX2 out, the VX3, but look how small that is. And there were no other manufacturers around that could get near Yaesu's clever packaging and technology in those days for small, compact dual banders. This isn't the original Aerial, I'm afraid. It's an aftermarket one. Another radio, of course, that is a favourite of everybody's still, certainly was in the 70s, was the old FT 290, the Yaesu 290 I showed off in the adverts last week. 2 meters, multi-mode. It's a bit battered, this one, as you can see. It's not hardly a pristine model. Telescopic whip. I'm going to get the antenna up, mate. There was no BNC. You pulled the antenna up. That's the FT 290, and we can just actually have a poke inside, because this is where the batteries go. Yes, look at all those UM2X4s, which are HP11s, are they? Forgotten now. But factories were real factories in those days, because you had proper wiring. Look at all that, you very rarely see, and pots that you could twiddle with, which is why, again, in the old days, quite a few people didn't like buying second-hand gear, because us radio amateurs like going in and twiddling, and if there was a pot they could twiddle, especially if you get more power out of it, we'd twiddle it. So including me. I've got to say, there's look at that. This is a portable, remember. There's a full-size fuse in there. You see that? So that's the FT 290. An absolute, again, masterpiece. Standard had a C508. This was 2.5 watts. The standard C508 was 1 watt. I haven't got one of those to show you, but we sold those. It was actually a very good piece of kit, but it just couldn't sell next to the FT 290. All right, all seems to be Yaesu at the moment, doesn't it? I've got another Yaesu piece of kit. You may have spotted it. So it's all been Yaesu, of course, which I love, because look, you can see, there you go. It's even got my call sign on it. Fantastic. Thank you, Yaesu Japan, for sending this. When you actually sent this to me 4 years ago, I couldn't get in it because I was a little bit larger then, so I'm sorry I haven't worn it in the videos before, but I got it out of the wardrobe. I thought, blimey, I can get into that. That's good. You can see, obviously, we're not super busy, because I'm not having as many hot meals, so that's why I've lost all my weight. So, right, so let's step on to some other lovely pieces of kit that were equally popular in their day. And that, of course, is Icom with their IC240. There it is. This piece of kit here, for those of you who don't know, is a 10-watt synthesized transceiver. The radio that came out before this was an IC22A, which was crystal controlled. And then Icom bought out I remember in here there's a matrix board, and you programmed all your frequencies up. So that would be S20, 21, 22 if you wanted to do that. This is in nice condition, lovely bit. Look at that analog S meter. Who likes analog S meters? You can comment on that below. We haven't cleaned these up. These aren't really for sale, to be honest with you. They're just for show. High and low power. Yes, it had a repeater offset, plus and minus. Again, only 2 meters. Dual band, no. And there it is. That's the IC240 from Icom. Circa 70s again. I was selling those at Bernie and Brenda's, and we just had queues out the door for these, as indeed of course we had for the old FT290, as you can imagine. Yeah, we'll stick with Icom. Later in the early 80s, Icom brought out this piece of kit, the IC290E 2-meter multimode. I was always mad on SSB, and in fact I only got off my G8 call to get on top band, and because I like 160 meters. The IC290 2-meter SSB, I think it's 10 watts. I'm sure it'll be corrected. Popular machine. It was very popular, but I have to say, not as popular as this one, which is the Yaesu FT480. This is actually one of my own. Yes, I have got loads of kit at home, but we didn't have one here, so I bought this in. This was a 10 watt multi-mode, so not as powerful as a 290. It did indeed precede the Icom version. There was an FT480. The FT280 was Bernie and Brenda's import direct from Japan, and we used to fit 600 kilohertz offset, repeater offset. But the UK variant was an FT480, which of course we sold as well, and the FT780, which is 70 SEMS, all single band, all 10 watts. And they also produced an FT680 for, we didn't have 6 meters in those days, I think that's from the States. But this is in lovely nick, it's even got the original microphone, look at the condition of the mic. And that is it, and wow, that is in lovely condition. It really, really is in lovely nick, so. They don't make them like that anymore, and again, all wiring and real components, no surface mount didn't exist early in those days. Trio. Who remembers a TR7500, eh? A 10 watt, 2 meter FM only rig with dual digit display. So you changed the channels by this. Very, very basic machine, but typical Kenwood. It was extremely well made. There's your tone burst. Oops, sorry, I had a focus. There's the tone burst on the front. And Trio had a great range. I haven't got, I'm looking around now, I haven't got any old Trio, so as much as I love Yaesu and Icom kit, obviously I love Trio Kenwood. So that Trio, as you know from last week, was a Bill Lowe jobby. That's why it says Trio on the front, as you can see, and not Kenwood. But we won't go on about that again because we had enough of that last week. Okay, another piece of kit after the FRG7, and I did, you saw me give it the photograph of me giving Bernie's one. I have got another one. I did actually say I had another one, and again this is my own one, and there it is. There's the FRG7. But you saw that, so oh sorry, that's a bit close, it's a bit scary. You saw that, so I'm not going to go about that. After the FRG7 came out, Yaesu brought out an FRG 7000, and finally they brought out the FRG 7700. And there it is, the FRG 7700, shortwave receiver. What I loved about the Yaesu receivers, and indeed Icom did as well, and Trio, Kenwood in the early days, notice the speakers on the front. What a good idea. It's such a shame that manufacturers started putting speakers on the top panels of radios, obviously because they haven't got the space, but there is such a difference having the audio firing out of the front. There it is, 7700. There was some matching FRT 7700. You can imagine what that was called in the trade, which was a tuner, and there was an FRV 7700 for a little VHF converter. This is in nice condition. It still works. The vernier drives normally slip after a few years. This is still going. There's band change, and then there was an external, a bolt-on memory unit, which this hasn't got. So if you wanted to put frequencies into memory, you had to pay 100 quid or whatever it was, and then this lot worked. But without that additional unit, these two or these three buttons did absolutely nothing. So that's the FRG 7700. Heathkit, who remembers Heathkit? They disappeared, didn't they? single band SSB transceiver for 80 meters. They were kits, PA, obviously valve unit. I really wasn't into Heathkit gear, but this came in with some other older stuff, and I thought I'd just show it. It is there. I've just seen lurking there. Who remembers the SEM trans matches? This is another one of the British manufacturers on the Isle of Man, which actually is quite rare. They've again gone long ago. There were lots of British manufacturers around in those days. There still are, but different ones. And maybe I will do a feature on a British assembled and manufactured kit. In fact, my very first commercially available transceiver was a Telford TC10. Who's got one of those, or who remembers it? It was a 2 meter SSB transmitter, and it drifted like the clappers. It drifted so badly when I was in my parents' shed, which is where I was relegated to, that I literally almost had to tune the dial as I was talking to people. In fact, the IC202, I think the Belcom Liner 2 came after that, before it, I can't remember. And the IC202 in varying temperature conditions used to drift too, but nothing like that Telford TC10. It was unbelievable. Right, so that's enough of the old kit. We are, of course, open for business. As you probably heard, customers just walked into the shop. It's counter, remote counter service only, unfortunately, but at least you can visit us now and drop kit off. You can drop off you can drop off equipment for part exchange, which makes a hell of a lot of difference, whereas we had to pick it up before. So if you want to have a trip out, come down. Please make sure you ring first, so all of you don't turn up at the same time, and we'll give you a time slot and pop in. But that works very well. We've also got mail order store full tilt, as you'll possibly see from the amount of kits stacked up in the shop everywhere. So that's working very well. We've still not got a definite date when we're going to be open. And the problem is, whilst they've sort of allowed you to be from 2 to 1 metre, how on earth are we going to clean all this lot every time people come in? If we open the shop fully, it would be really difficult. We just don't want to risk yourselves or ourselves with that. It's just not fair to anyone. But the mail order delivery is a lot faster now. All the dreadful problems all of us had in the UK when it first kicked off over 3 months ago now. I'm pleased to say it's past us, and even the good old Royal Mail has finally sorted themselves out. That's it, I think, really, for this weekend. It's a short one, because we had a long one last week. There will be quite a lot more second-hand kit, because we've opened up the sort of mini counter. We have been getting a lot more second-hand, and the problem is it's been going really quickly. But I've just spotted a load of Ellicraft KX3, is that over there I can see, and various other bits and pieces. Icom amplifiers decided coming in this week, not the full complement, unfortunately, but hopefully that will be next week. For the rest, kit is still turning up, I'm very pleased to say, but there are big holes in certain products within the manufacturers, which is a real shame. So I knew that would happen, and it is already happening. So if you are itching to purchase something, you may want to look at doing it sooner rather than later, because there have been some disappointed people said, oh, sorry, it's like 2-3 month delivery now. That's all. I hope you're keeping well. I hope you're keeping safe. I hope you did enjoy. I know you enjoyed last week because of the amount of views that I've had. So we'll keep them coming. If you've got any ideas you'd like me to discuss or show you on the radio, on YouTube, I'm very happy to do that. That's it, really. I couldn't resist it. I did mention the Ellicraft K3. There it is, with the KAT 500 tuner and the KPA 500. So that'll be going on the used equipment soon. FT897 there, look, being all cleaned up. That's just come down from the workshop with the AT897, the LDG tuner. So you've got the matching power supply, I can see, there it is there. You may have noticed on the website, we've actually got a used IC7851, which is Icom's flagship radio. It's been to the workshop. Everything that comes in goes into a 4-day quarantine before we touch it, and it's tested and cleaned, and at the moment it's just put back in the boxes. We don't even bother unpacking it. If it doesn't come in with any boxes, then generally we leave it out, of course, but we'll wrap it up before we ship it. But I know this is really boring. The photographs of the radio are on our website. This is the Icom IC7851 with the matching SP34. I'm just going to prove to you it's actually here, because there is the monster box. So that's the 7851 and the SP. I can't believe I'm showing you a box of a radio with the external packaging. So the main radio is in another box inside that, and the matching SP34. So if you really are thinking about investing in one of those, we've got a used one, and it's got a minimum of 6 months warranty on it, and we can extend it for you if you wish. And it did come from a good home. And I've just spotted a K3, I've just spotted a TS570, all these are used. So another Ellicraft K3, TS570, SP34, an IC7000, where are we? A IC718, the Icom IC718, IC8600, SP890, FT897D, ARDV1. Oh, I'll show you. Goodness me, let me just show you. It's not fair, is it? ARDV1, FC50, Yaesu tuner, FT897. There it is. SP890. Because I do believe somewhere we've got a used FT890, TS890, the Kenwood. You can't even get those new at the moment, because unfortunately the factory had to close through safety. Used IC7300, FT2000, looks like 3000, yep, FTDX 3000. There's used kit all over the place. Palstar tuner, don't know which one that is, should do really, but. So there is lots of kit coming through, but the guys are in, a lot of them are in, as you can see. There they all are. There's Tony, sales manager, working away on the phone. Jonathan, good old John Power, Gary, Gazlab, sure you watch him on. Young Gary, yeah. Daniel and others. So that's it. Oh, I'm going to go now, and I do apologise for swinging around like this and driving everybody nuts, but thanks for watching, and see you next week. Bye bye.